Cool. A very warm welcome once again to our Simple Suppers demonstrations. This is our 4th episode, and today we're going to be doing some Scotch eggs. So let's crack on with those. Literally crack on with the eggs. So first thing we do when we make Scotch eggs is just soft boil some eggs. So me being me, classically organised, I've got a kettle here that should be just about boiling with some hot water in. Just while that's coming back to the boil, let me just run you through the ingredients. So we've got some salt and pepper there in a little ramekin, some olive oil here. We've got 4 lovely free-range eggs. We've got some thyme, fresh from the garden. Just 2 different varieties of thyme there we've got in the pot. We've got an onion. I know earlier in the week I suggested that we need to keep it portrait. Great. So we've got an onion there which we're using as a substitute for the shallots. We've got garlic, we're going to use a couple of cloves of those. Black pudding, this is an optional ingredient. We've got 115 grams of that. Some sausage meat, I've just bought Tesco's sausage meat. I mean, it's nothing too special, but it does the trick. If you can't find sausage meat in the supermarket at the moment, then you can very easily just buy a packet of sausages and empty the meat out of them just by squeezing the sausages. No pun intended there. Good. And a bit of plain flour to use for panning these Scotch eggs with. On the side here, we've got some panko breadcrumbs. Standard breadcrumbs work absolutely fine. Panko just give you a lovely texture to the crumb on the Scotch egg, and they go particularly nice and crunchy when you fry them. Coming over here, we've got a pan of oil here to fry the Scotch eggs in. That's not hot at the moment, but we will be heating that up in due course. So let's get our boiling water and boil the eggs. And we need a timer here because it's really important that we cook the eggs for exactly 4 minutes. If you cook the eggs any longer than 4 minutes, you end up with a hard yolk once the Scotch egg's done. So if this timer works, it doesn't. I'm just going to get a timer.
You've got lots of time here.
Great, so here we are with a timer, a classic iPhone timer. So I'm just going to get this ready. Lovely, so we've got 4 eggs there, we're only going to put 3 into the water. Now, putting eggs in the water, quite an easy way to do it is just to keep the eggs on the plate and then just literally dip the plate into the water. What you've got to be careful of is not to let the eggs drop in too fast. So I've got the plate here, holding it in my hands. I'm going to put that against the side of the pan and nice and gently drop those eggs into the water, like so. Fantastic. Okay, so we've just got our 1 egg that we'll use later on for coating the thing. So timer, like we said, set timer for 4 minutes.
Okay, 4 minutes and counting.
Lovely. So that's our timer on for the eggs. And then when the eggs come out of the pan, we need to have a bowl of water ready to plunge those eggs into. Literally, just need to stop the eggs from cooking as soon as that 4-minute timer's up. Any less than 4 minutes, the eggs become a little bit difficult to peel. So it's very important to just let them have exactly 4 minutes. While we're waiting for the eggs to cook, we can start getting our stuffing ready. So to make the stuffing, I'm going to finely dice the onion. I'm going to crush 2 cloves of garlic and show you how to do that with a knife. I'm going to finely dice my black pudding. I'm going to fry all those together in a pan, just to soften up the onion a little bit, get rid of some of the water in it, and also soften up the black pudding so that combines with the sausage meat nicely when you make the Scotch egg. So. Chopping an onion, what we do, we take the top off, as we've said before in one of these videos, put the onion on its flat side, go through the middle, and then pull the skin off from around the outside. Lovely.
How many minutes on the eggs?
How many minutes left?
No, is it in total?
4 minutes on the eggs.
4 minutes.
Yeah. So leave the eggs in the pan for literally 4 minutes, no more. Okay, and you find that literally only just soft boils them, so the yolks remain nice and soft when we cook the Scotch egg later on as well. Good. So, we've got our onion there, and we're just going to finely dice this. So, when you're finely dicing an onion, what you want to do is just cut almost all the way through the onion. So, that onion is actually still one piece. Okay, so you've gone pretty much all the way through the onion, and then we'll just go the other way. So I always use my my thumb and index finger to hold it together, and then just run your knife through. Oh, blunder. It doesn't always go right when you're live, does it? Oh dear. Okay, so you got half a finely chopped onion there, and we'll just do exactly the same with the other as well. So, lovely. So we've got a finely diced onion. Fantastic. Lovely. And what I'm going to do is just get a tiny bit of butter. I'm going to pop that in a small saucepan. And I'm going to get that cooking nice and slowly straight away. So just getting the onions nice and soft. Got about 50 seconds left on the eggs. So I'll start getting my my garlic ready. Garlic wise, I'm just using either two small cloves or one large clove is absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do for preparing the garlic, chop the ends off, put your knife on top of the garlic and just give it a sharp hit, and then that just literally it breaks the skin around the edge, so all the peel comes off nice and easy. I say that, I haven't quite hit it hard enough. There we go. Good. And the peel comes off nice and easily, like so. Right, crushing garlic. I'm just gonna get my eggs drained because they've just got 1 second left. There we go. Stop. So, like I said, as soon as they're done, we're just going to pour the water out and then get our eggs straight into that cold water there. And even just to keep them cold, I'm just going to put my cold tap on gently, like that. So the water's just continuously running over those eggs. Lovely. So we've got our butter here. I'll pop the onions in, start them off. Like so. Beautiful. So we've got some onions in the pan there. Just going to go with the utensil just to stir them around. And what you want to do with those onions is just season them ever so lightly as well, just with a bit of salt and pepper. So salt and pepper, there we go, fantastic. Lovely. So they're just cooking nice and gently. So that garlic that I mentioned, lots of people would use would use garlic crusher to crush up a garlic clove. I, however, I'm going to do it with a knife. So to do that, I'm just going to slice the garlic finely, like that. Lovely. So we're going to, we've got our garlic there, and then what I want to do is just put a tiny bit of salt on there. Now, the purpose of the salt here is to break down the garlic slightly.
Whoa.
Got some questions coming in there, have we?
Yeah, but don't worry, Anne's answering them.
Anne's answering.
Yeah.
Is she giving the correct answers? That's the question.
Yeah, that's what I have to think about. No, she's doing well.
Good.
Jill asked why eggs have to go in cold water.
So Jill, very good question. Yeah, so we put them into cold water just to stop the eggs from cooking, and then we can guarantee then when we cook the Scotch eggs that we're still going to have a nice runny egg. So salt's gone onto the garlic, and it's just going to start breaking the garlic down. So what I'm going to do then is just use the side of my knife and the texture of my lovely wooden chopping board to crush the garlic. So lots of pressure on these 3 fingers here, and then good amount of pressure on the handle as well. And what you want to do is put the back of the knife flat against the chopping board, go over to the garlic, press down on the blade of the knife, and drag the garlic against the chopping board. Okay, so I'll just do that in slow motion again. Back of the knife, against the garlic, press down and drag the garlic against the chopping board. And then we'll just go through. Through the garlic, bit by bit. And crush it up. So we're getting a lovely crushed garlic there. Fantastic. I'm just going to turn the gas off. There we go. So, lovely. And one of the benefits of that is you save the washing up of the garlic crusher as well, which is just great. So garlic goes in with the onions, and we'll stir that around, get that garlic cooking. And like you can see, these are just cooking ever so gently, these onions. All we're looking at doing is just getting a bit of caramelisation on them, a bit of colour, and letting the garlic flavour run through it as well. And you've got to make sure the garlic's cooked as well, otherwise garlic can give a slightly bitter taste to your mincemeat. So, thyme, like I said, we've got our lovely fresh thyme from the garden. Just going to pull the leaves off the sprigs of thyme. In fact, these stalks are so soft that I'm actually just going to leave them in. They'll be grand. They're lovely and soft as well. It's the benefit of having these lovely homegrown herbs. Polly does a fantastic job of keeping the herbs watered, keeping the garden nourished and fed, and looked after, and maintained to the standard of the Royal Chelsea Flower Show gardens, or whatever they are. Great. Here we go.
Apart from I poured floor bleach on them.
Yeah. There we go. Super. Great idea, actually. You probably just saw there. Really great idea to not leave your plastic utensil on the side of the pan because it just melts. Yeah. So good. That's looking nice. Starting to get a bit of colour on there. And so now let's add in our black pudding. I'm just going to pop that water off because those eggs will be nice and chilled by now. So black pudding, like I said, 115 grams of this stuff. This is optional, so if you're not a black pudding fan, just leave it out. It's by no means an essential ingredient. What I'm going to try and do with this black pudding is just slice it up nice and fine. And then the only reason we're cooking this is just to soften it again. And it just makes it that little bit easier to work with when we come to rolling our Scotch eggs and coating the eggs in the sausage meat. So nice and finely sliced, 115 grams of black pudding into the pan it goes. And I'm just pushing that together in my thumbs, just breaking it up into nice little manageable pieces as it goes into the pan. And I absolutely love black pudding, and I think it's one of those things you love it or you hate it. But it has got numerous health benefits, as well as it having a fairly high fat content. It's hugely high in iron, which is great, particularly if you're a bit older and you're lacking iron in your diet. It's a useful thing to try and incorporate in. So you can see that black pudding is breaking up nice and easily now. Super. Look at that. Fantastic. And as soon as the black pudding goes black, then it's cooked sufficiently. So it's making sure that's mixed up nicely with the onions. Jolly good. So there you've got your black pudding, your onions, your thyme, your garlic, and a bit of salt and pepper in there as well. Lovely. So that's all ready now to mix in with our sausage meat. So I'm just going to turn the heat off under there, and I'm going to open the window slightly actually as well. It's rather hot in there. Lovely. So eggs. We've had probably a good 5 minutes or so in the water. So we'll bring those over to the chopping board now, and we'll pop our sausage meat in that bowl. Lovely. Great. So how to peel eggs? This is another useful little trick. Pop the eggs in a pan and just jiggle them around in the pan. I mean, the Easter Bunny, if you treated your Easter egg like this, the Easter Bunny wouldn't be happy, would he? But you know what? I'm not too bothered about what he thinks. Good, lovely. So you've got your eggs there, rumbling them around, making sure that they're just lightly cracked all over. And then now we need to just take the shell off these, and hopefully they're cooked sufficiently, and we should just have a slightly wobbly egg. We're looking quite good here. You do need to be ever so gentle when you're peeling these, just to make sure that you don't end up breaking the egg. So it does take a little while, but it's worth it. Definitely worth it. Just taking your time. And what you find when you peel an egg is that there's a little membrane. And if you can get under the membrane, it suddenly becomes really easy to peel. I don't think I'll quite manage that with this one, but we're not doing too badly. So, like I say, it does take a little while. The black pudding is there. It's looking good. It's ready to mix in with our sausage meat. Jolly good. All looking superb. Polly, my able assistant, would you be able to grab the cling film?
Oh yeah, hold on. Oh wait, Jill wants to know if she can have a glass of wine yet.
Jill, absolutely. I mean, I almost encourage cooking with a glass of wine. I tend not to because I'm live. I don't want to risk having too much wine too early. But believe you me, as soon as this demonstration's done, I'll be straight onto the wine. There we go. So one egg done. First I do is pop my egg in there, and then next egg. Here we go. So it is a bit of a laborious process doing the eggs, but you know, I should probably have done these way before, so you didn't have to watch me peel 3 eggs. But you know what? Here we go. We are live. Is anyone actually making this with me as we go? I think Jem and Rob might have been planning on doing so. Jem and Rob, are they there?
Yeah, Jem's is. She's laughing at your feet.
Jem's is laughing at my feet. She's just jealous of my feet. They're a fine pair. In fact, my feet have done a great job for me today. They've taken me out on a run, which I'm still trying to get over the run, actually. We did the 5K for NHS. So the idea being that you run 5 kilometres, and then you donate the £5 or £1 per kilometre. I mean, I should really have only donated about 70p really, but I walked the rest, or run walked, as Dad's been trying to encourage me to do. But it's a good, great cause, good thing to do, and also a good way to keep fit during the isolation period. Good. So we've got 2 eggs, 2 out of 3 done now. I'm just doing 3 eggs, and the reason being is because I don't want to bore you all by taking absolutely ages doing all of them. In fact, I'm wondering whether, do you think we should just leave this one, Paul, or should we?
Maybe just do 2, and then we.
No, I've just about done this one. I'm starting to get the hang of it, I think.
At least they're not quail's eggs.
At least they're not quail's eggs, exactly. If anyone's ever peeled quail eggs, they're one of the worst things to do. You know, especially when I was working in professional kitchens, you used to get put on peeling the quail eggs, and you'd sit there for 3 hours on a chair. You'd probably go outside to do the quail eggs, and literally just sit there and peel quail eggs for ages. It was mind-bogglingly boring. Good. So, like you can see, I've peeled those eggs. I've just. Oh, fantastic. Great to hear, Gems. Are you keeping up all right? Yeah, she must be.
She must be busy watching it.
She's probably quite busy, old Gemma is, because she's trying to keep up with me and probably keep Rob in order as well. Good. So, we've got our sausage meat, we've got our black pudding. They're ready to mix in with the sausage meat.
Oh, jealous. They've got bantam eggs.
Just has to trump me on everything, doesn't she? Bloody hell.
Mum's got 2 bantams.
Good. So, black pudding meat in there, sausage meat in there, and what I'm going to do is just knead this together. And really, when you do this, the smoother you can get this meat, the easier it is then to wrap the eggs in the meat. For anyone who doesn't know what a Scotch egg is a soft-boiled egg wrapped in sausage meat, or sausage meat, or whatever you want to wrap it in. I mean, yeah, you can do vegetarian Scotch eggs if you do like a curry chickpea mix and mash that up a little bit like a sort of dry hummus. That's lovely to to coat Scotch eggs in. So you can see that is now a nice smooth consistency. Slightly on the wet side. So what I'm going to do is just put a sprinkling of breadcrumbs in there just to dry it out slightly. So that's 1 handful, 2 handfuls of breadcrumbs in there with the sausage meat. What happens if the sausage meat's too wet, it lets out moisture when it's cooking, and your Scotch eggs end up bursting when they're frying. So it's really good to just have that bit of breadcrumb in there, and then those breadcrumbs will soak up the any moisture that comes out of the sausage meat while it's cooking. Most sausage meat tends to have a bit of rusk in it anyway, which is good for. Right, I think we just lost you, our Wi-Fi or Facebook just having a little blip. We put the breadcrumbs into the sausage meat, and that's just going to absorb any moisture that comes out of the sausage meat while the eggs are cooking. So you've got your sausage meat there, ready to go. Lovely. So just to recap, we've got our sausage meat, we've got our 3 eggs, and then we've got cling film here ready to go. Okay, so I'm just going to wash my hands. Always a good idea when you touch raw meat, just to wash your hands and make sure you've got no nasty bits that you don't want on your hands. Just grab a tea towel from over here to dry my hands. Great. So.
Well, hang on a minute, because everyone's on the other feed, so they must have come on, lost us, and then. So
okay.
maybe just wait a minute.
Claire's watching, Rob's watching, Gemma's watching. How many viewers have we gone down there?
I think we had about 20. So
Right.
they'll probably just rejoin in a minute.
Okay. So while we're just waiting for everyone else to rejoin, what I'm going to do tonight, I'll recap this later, but rather than just having the Scotch egg on its own, during the week we made a lovely ham and pea soup with a bit of wild garlic in. We will put a recipe for that on the YouTube channel probably next week. By the time we've done our walk to get some more wild garlic and do the recipe properly for you. I always test the recipes before I do them live. Just to make sure that they all taste good and they work properly. So yeah, here we've got some wild garlic and pea soup that we'll pour into a bowl, and we'll put we'll pop the Scotch egg just on top of that. You could, if you wanted to, put some courgettes in that. If you did your courgette sort of like courgette, like we did when we did the salad to go with the wrap of the lamb. That courgette we can make into a nest shape, like a sort of nest for an egg, and put the Scotch egg on top. Right, we'll crack on now with the Scotch egg, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Good. We'll carry on. Lovely. So just having the old battle of the cling film. I don't know who used this last. Probably our good housemate Dougie. But right, what we're doing is we're just going to try and get a square of cling film on the worktop. And the best way to do this is, in fact, I'll show you. Let's just move that in there slightly. So we've got look, you can tell even a professional chef can't work tidily. It's a classic example. So we just clean the worktop down, and what I'm going to do is just dampen the worktop slightly with a sponge, and then lay the cling film on top of my my damp worktop. So there we go. We've got our cling film there, and then I want to use a knife to cut down the cling film, and then get another square of cling film on top of that one, and it looks like fantastic. We've run out of cling film. Good. So, but I'm sure this will work. There we go. Hey, we've got a little bit more than I thought. Come on. Be nice to me. Here we go. Lovely. So, essentially what we're doing is sticking 2 bits of cling film on top of each other. And then what we're going to do is put a circle of sausage meat in there. And then we're going to wrap this up around the egg. So, good. we'll get a bit of sausage meat, and just to give you an idea of how much I'm using per Scotch egg, I've got about probably 100 grams or so in my hand there, and that should be sufficient for one egg. So what I'm doing is I'm putting that down on the cling film, and then I'm going to get a little bit of greaseproof paper. So you don't need too much of this, and you're just going to press the meat down, like I say, over the cling film. Okay, so you make essentially a big sausage patty, like so. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. I mean, you'd have to be a mathematician, I reckon, to get the perfect amount of sausage meat. But basically, what we're going to do is pop the egg in the middle of the sausage meat like that, then lift up the cling film from the bottom layer, and roll the sausage meat. In fact, if I do it from this side, then you can see properly. So we'll lift the cling film up, and we'll come over the egg, like so. And then we'll lift up at the side and the other side. And then just ravel all this up. Great. And just start pressing it. Just nice and ever so gently, just all the way around the edge. Just press it. Just try and get rid of all the air. So I'm going to unwrap it now. Lovely. And where you've got little joins like that, what you want to do is just rub your finger over and heal up all the little cracks. Lovely. Now, that is ready to do what we call pane, which is basically coating it in breadcrumbs. So I'm just going to do this one to save you watching me do the rest of them. So at this stage, I'm going to get my oil on. When you use oil at home for deep fat frying, I mean, I've just done I've done a small saucepan of it here. This is a 1 litre pan, and we've put 750 mils of. So it's a 1.5 litre pan, and we've put 750 mils of oil in. So you're basically just half filling the pan with oil. Don't put any more than that, because obviously, you know, when you put the Scotch egg in, it does displace quite a lot of oil. And also, the last thing you want to do, particularly if you're cooking on gas, is to let that oil dribble over onto the and cause a potential fire. When you fry Scotch eggs, your oil wants to be about 170 degrees. Now, you're probably all wondering at home how the heck you're going to get a pan of oil to be 170 degrees. It's great if you've got a temperature probe to stick in, and temperature probes are quite useful things just to have around. You can get them off Amazon for about 12-13 quid or so, and that you probably get them on Amazon Prime as well. But what we're going to do is just stick that probe in the oil just when it starts to look ready. The other way you can do it is to get a couple of breadcrumbs, pop them in the oil, and then when they turn golden, you know that the oil is going to be hot enough to get your egg nice and golden. Okay, so let's crack on with this. Let's get it coated in the breadcrumbs. So I'm just going to move all this stuff out of the way. We've got our breadcrumbs, a bowl for our egg, and a bowl for our flour there as well. Okay, so great. Bit of flour in there. And if you're doing a pane, or if you're coating something with flour, always just put a little bit of salt and pepper in that flour as well. I'm actually going to use the salt out of the cupboard that doesn't have the coarse pepper in. So a bit of salt in there, and we'll just mix that salt in nicely with the flour. Fantastic. Lovely. So the other thing we're going to need is our egg. So we just crack the egg on the side of the bowl there and to that one. Lovely. And then we'll just whip that up with a lovely jazzy whisk. Look at that. How about that for a whisk, eh? So whip up the egg. Now, if your egg's quite sort of I don't know how to describe, but if it's holding itself together, what you can do is just put a tiny bit of oil in the egg as well. So just pop a little bit of olive oil in our egg, and then we'll just whip that together. And you can see it's just loosened the egg ever so slightly. Super. So that egg's good consistency now for doing our penne. So good. We've got our Scotch egg. And when you do a penne, or when you coat something in breadcrumbs, the Scotch egg, we're just making sure first of all that it's nice and round. Where I left it sat on one surface, it was just slightly flat. So I'm just going to try and mould that back into a eggish shape. I mean, I'm no artist at all, but there we go. That's almost egg shaped. So I'm going to roll the egg in the flour. There we go, lovely. And just make sure you really have got flour all over that egg. And then just very gently in your hands, just pat the flour to make sure there's no excess. Because if there's excess flour, you'll find that the breadcrumbs will come off while your egg's frying. So now into the egg with that. And this is where you want to keep yourself a dry hand and a wet hand. So I'm going to use this one as my wet hand, so I can get egg on that. Lovely. So there you got your Scotch egg coated in egg, and then into the breadcrumbs. And at this point, I'm going to use my dry hand to toss this around and get a good coating of breadcrumbs onto the egg. Now, as I said earlier, if you can't get hold of panko breadcrumbs, it's not the end of the world. It's absolutely fine to use normal ones. Right, I've got that coated in panko breadcrumbs. I'm going to do what we call a double penne for this. So what we do is we go back into the egg. Try and keep that wet hand and dry hand if you can. I mean, I've completely really made a bodge of this, but oh well. So we've done two layers of breadcrumbs, and that just means how is it? I mean, it's just nice and secure in there. It's not it's not going to burst while it's frying. So there you go. You got your Scotch egg there, ready to go in your oil as soon as it comes up to temperature. And ours still isn't quite at temperature, so what I'm going to do is just leave that in the breadcrumbs. While that's still in the breadcrumbs, we're waiting for the oil to come up to temperature. I might as well show you how to do another one just to recap and make sure that we've got all this really down to a T. So we've got our 2 layers of cling film. We've got 100 grams of sausage meat. Pop that on the cling film. Got our greaseproof paper. Which we use to press the meat into a circular shape, or any shape. You pop your egg on. You roll your egg up in the sausage meat. Bring the sides in. Then any gaps, like I say, you just sort of pinch it together. Make sure you got a lovely smooth outside there. Get it a nice egg shape. Lovely. And then we're going into the flour. All over. Pat off any excess flour. I'm just thinking we might have to move that out of the breadcrumbs. Lovely. So then we go into the egg. Make sure we've got a good coating of egg on the outside. And then into the breadcrumbs. And just as we did on the last one, pat that around. Back in the egg for our second round of paneing. And like I said, we do this to just make sure that there's definitely no chance of the egg bursting in the oil. There we go, look at that, that's fantastic. Good, so we've got two eggs there ready to go, and it's looking like our oil's just coming up to temperature. So I'm just going to pop the probe in the oil now and see how hot it is. So if you're going to do the Scotch egg with the wild garlic and pea velouté that we're doing tonight as our sort of little showpiece, around this time you'd be making sure that you had a pan hot ready to put the velouté in. So I'm just going to get a pan. There we go. Splendid. So just pop that probe in there and how we're looking. It's certainly climbing up rather fast. 145, 150.
What does it need to be?
We need to be on anything above 160 is good to fry things, to brown them out. So that's about right. So we're on 161, 162 now. Which is great. So that will start frying nicely. So if you looked at your breadcrumbs that you dipped in, they're just starting to turn a nice golden brown colour. So they're ready now to pop the eggs into. So just to recap, got our oil about 100 and 160, 170 degrees, and really important when we drop these eggs into the oil. Obviously the oil is so hot. So I'm just going to pop the Scotch egg on a spoon. And then very gently just dip it in like that. Okay. I'm going to try dipping my second one in. Do you reckon there's room in there, Polly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's quite risky. My oil's quite close to the top of the pan, but I'm sure they're going to be absolutely fine. So when we're frying our Scotch eggs, just got to be careful that oil doesn't come too hot. If it gets too hot, you'll find that the oil will burn. Obviously, 750 mils of oil is quite a lot of oil to use. So if you do a lot of frying, particularly if you're coating things in breadcrumbs, then frying them, it's a good idea to just keep that oil in a jam jar in the cupboard, and then you can reuse it a few times. Oil only really taints if you're using it to cook fish in or cook things that have a really bold flavour. But if something's coated in breadcrumbs, you'll find that it doesn't really taint the flavour of the oil very easily at all. So they're good. What I'm going to do now is just start heating up my my pan of wild garlic and pea velouté, ready to serve the egg on. So as I say, we'll get the recipe for this up on the website by sometime next week, so you can have a go at making it yourself. And it's just another great use for wild garlic. While it's in season, it's in such abundance, and we're on isolation, but we can still go for a walk. And wild garlic, it grows pretty much anywhere under woodland. So it's easy to get a hold of. Cracking. I can't remember what I said I was just about to do.
Siege, what oil are you using?
Very good question. The oil I'm using for this is called Crisp and Dry, and it's literally it's cheap oil from the supermarket. But the most important thing when you're selecting an oil to fry in, it's got to have a high smoke point. So you can't fry in olive oil or avocado oil or sesame oil or any of those. You just want either sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, not cold pressed rapeseed oil like the expensive stuff. Just good cheap oil, flora oil, Tesco's vegetable oil. Any of those are good for frying. the eggs, if we have a look at the eggs, they're just starting to turn a nice golden brown colour now. So what I'm going to do is just get a piece of kitchen roll out, ready to put the eggs on. And when you fry Scotch eggs, if you think about the amount of sausage you've got in there, it's literally just that thick, so it's not going to take too long to cook. So you don't need to worry too much about your sausage meat not cooking, because obviously when it comes out of the pan, it's going to harness all that heat in there. So what we are actually going to do is just leave the eggs for probably, I don't know, 2 minutes or so, just to rest before we cut them up, and that's going to ensure that the sausage meat finishes off cooking. Obviously as well, by putting our hot onions and our hot black pudding into the sausage meat, it's going to just warm it up slightly, so we're not cooking it from fridge cold. If you were to cook them from fridge cold, I'd encourage you maybe to start them in the oil at maybe 150 degrees and just cook them that tiny bit slower. But you basically, you know when the Scotch eggs are done, because they're a lovely golden brown colour. So we just look at these, they're just not quite ready, they're just looking slightly anemic at the moment. So I'm just going to leave them in probably another 30 seconds or a minute or so, and that's all they'll need more. So I'm just going to turn my heat down a bit. We need to get our soup on. I've let this pan get really hot, so if ever you do that, you're using a pan to heat up soup. Soup doesn't take long to heat up at all, but what you can do is just put a tiny bit of water in the pan first, and then put the soup in, and it will help the soup heat up really quickly. Because it's a green soup, we discussed this in our Toad in the Hole video, but green stuff hates being warm. It likes to be brought up to temperature really fast to maintain a lovely green colour in it. So this is going to really blare up with steam. So put our water in there, lovely, and our wild garlic and pea velouté, lovely. So you swish that around in the pan, and literally that's boiling hot now, ready to go. Okay. So we've got our wild garlic and pea velouté. Let's now have a look at our Scotch eggs, and they're a lovely golden brown colour now. So I'm going to get that out and just pop it onto kitchen roll there, just to rest off for a little while. Oh, watch out! Lovely. So you got Scotch eggs there, and we've got our pea velouté nice and hot. So like I said, we're just going to leave it for a couple of minutes just to rest. And I'm going to turn the heat off under the oil. In fact, we'll leave it on because we might cook another couple of eggs in a few minutes. What we've got for pudding tonight is our chocolate Easter egg brownie. We'll put up a video on YouTube, maybe on Easter Sunday for that one, so you can have a go at making a chocolate brownie too. But what we did was just make a chocolate brownie and then poke some Easter eggs in the top, some little mini eggs, very kindly given to us by Polly's granny. Good. So I'll just heat the bowl up. So if you were having friends over for dinner and you needed a really impressive starter, this would be a great thing to do. You know, you can get your pea soup made really early. You can do that any time, probably even the day before if you were really keen. You could get your pea soup made. And then you could get your Scotch eggs made the day before as well. So all you have to do on the night of your dinner party is just heat up your pea soup that you made the day before, heat up your Scotch eggs, and that's it. So nice easy one to do if you were having a dinner party. So just put it in that bowl. There's a bit of heat coming through it now. Lovely. Good. So got our bowl there. Got our lovely wild garlic and pea velouté. So I'm just going to pour. Oh. It's spitting slightly. That's not good.
Bit hot.
Let's just leave that for a minute. It's a little bit hot, and just chop our Scotch egg in half. So let's get a clean board. And when you're slicing a Scotch egg in half, always use a serrated knife. You'll find it a lot easier to get through the crust. So I'm just going to use the slightly smaller one. I mean, this is the moment of truth, isn't it? To make sure that the Scotch egg's nice and running in the middle. You can hear there a lovely crunch. So go through the middle, open it up, and there you've got an absolutely perfect Scotch egg, if I may say so myself. Good. Yum. So over here we've got our pea and wild garlic velouté. We'll pour that into the bottom of the bowl. lovely homemade Scotch egg in the middle. I'm actually just going to be really anal and just try and clean off the white there if we can.
Scraping the yolk off, that is...
Yeah, it's just got a good contrast between white and yolk. There we go. Scotch egg and wild garlic and pea velouté. And I suppose we should really use some of the goodness from the garden just to garnish that. So a couple of sprigs of thyme. Lovely. And there we go. That's our
Wait, we've got
our
some
simple
questions.
supper for tonight. Good. What's questions? Who wants to know what?
How come the yolk doesn't go hard when you fry it?
Because if you think about it, if the best way is probably to look at the egg. You've got the yolk right in the middle of the egg, so it takes quite a long time for the heat to all to come through into the middle. So essentially, it's crispy on the outside. It's cooked through the meat there, and then it's sort of gently warmed the egg and the yolk. I mean, if I touch the yolk, it's only just warm, like literally just warm, which is just the way you want it, really. Any other questions?
Jem says, no, the Scotch eggs are whoppers, Rob's really happy.
Jem said what?
Scotch eggs are whoppers, Rob's really happy.
Oh, great. Oh, brilliant. Great. So that's the end of our video for
Go
today.
back to this one. Look at that. Yum.
Should we have a look at the big one as well and see how
check
that's
that's
looking? Great. And if you haven't got wild garlic, the luxury of just having some wild garlic and pea velouté in the fridge, waiting to go, then you could just mix some mayonnaise with some Dijon mustard and have that with a Scotch egg, and that is an absolute winner of a combination. So there's our other one. That one's a bit more of a whopper. That one.
Whoa.
There we go. Look at that. Cracking. Good.
Cracking.
And that's our Scotch eggs. There we go. Friday Night Live is over. Oh, by the way, before we go away, happy Easter, everyone. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thanks so much for watching once again. It's always a pleasure to host you and keep you entertained for half an hour or an hour on a Friday night. Take care. Stay classy. Stay well. Happy Easter.